Hello and welcome to the 54th edition of Half Hour, a podcast starring me, John Polo Giudice, as your host. In today's episode, I will discuss applying to law school with Alan Solomin. Thank you very much for coming on the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it. Alan and I went to high school together. We were good friends in high school, and we were just talking online, and we set it up, and now we're recording. So if you want to tell the audience a little about yourself and what some of your goals are. I mean, obviously we're talking about applying to law school, which both of us are kind of in a process. I think he's way further along than me. I'm not really the best with deadlines, but
so my name is Alan. I went to high school at JP. Studied at UMass Amherst. Finished that 2022. I majored in legal studies, minored in Russian and history. Other than that, I'm a huge car guy, as you can see on my shirt. Other than that, currently focusing on applying to law school to become a lawyer and work in Boston.
There you go. I know that when I lived in Prague, living in the city was definitely something like I want to get back to doing.
Yeah.
And I grew up around here, and I want to live in Boston someday too. And I think going to law school there would be a great coupling
it'd be
of
awesome.
These two.
I want to experience
things.
that.
Yeah, especially with the public transport and stuff, man.
Yeah.
People who have listened to this podcast know that I talk about that a little too much. I love transport. It's so
Hopefully
cool.
it gets better in Boston because it sucks.
Yeah. Okay, so we can kind of jump right into it. I don't know where you want to start, but
I guess I'll start. Kind of decided to go to law school after I graduated. Well, I was thinking about it in school. That's why I majored in legal studies. But I decided to work full time to get some experience working at a law firm to kind of figure out if that's right for me, and I decided it was. So I started studying for it December 2022 while working full time. And I'm applying for this fall, and I just kind of studied after work as much as I could, like hour, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. Applying anywhere in Boston. Any questions you have about applying or?
Well, many. Well, I guess my first one is how does someone even go about it? The information I got, I was told to use the Law School Admission Council.
Yep, that's
LSAC.
So it's called LSAC. That's kind of your hub for applying. It's pretty much all law schools in the U.S. Only work through the LSAC, which is the official, administrator of the LSAT exam and applications. So basically, you make an account there. You kind of put in whatever schools you're interested in applying to on that website. It's kind of your profile. That's where you register for the LSAT, which you have to take to apply. And then you fill out different parts of the application. Each school has a questionnaire you fill out, some of your personal information. And obviously the test, you can take it as many times as you want, I'm pretty sure. And then you kind of put in your personal statement, recommendation letters on there, and things like that. But yeah, LSAC is kind of where you start to apply.
I remember my story is that two of my cousins are in law school, or one of them's in law school. One of them graduated a while back and is working in a law firm. I am very blessed to have a family that we're all in different fields. Right?
Yeah.
All my cousins are in different fields, and I feel very lucky to kind of have these resources. So after this podcast, as well as asking you, I'm going to ask them too, because
for sure,
because they know, they know all about it. Pointers, maybe they have good networking.
Yeah.
But I remember for me, I was so uneducated is the word I would use about how to even start. I remember I called Suffolk University.
Yeah.
I called them. I called their law department, and this very nice woman answered the phone, and I said, hello, my name's John. I'm looking to go to law school.
Where do I start?
Yeah, where do I start? And I think this is a lesson for I think everybody, where it's if you don't know, if you honest to God don't know where to start, it's so overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
If you don't really know, there's a very famous quote. It was if you don't know to which port you're sailing to, no wind is favorable.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
you have no guidance.
You don't even know where you're going. So I was talking to her, and she was the first thing you need to do is make an account with the Law School Admission Council, and she kind of walked me through it. and like this is not her job, you know, like
Yeah.
she didn't have to do all this. Like we were on the phone for like almost an hour talking about
That's
this.
pretty solid.
Yeah, and she really, like, I remember I had my notepad and I wrote it down, like all the steps, because that's how I applied to the college I went to in Prague. That's how I do things. Like I have to like write it myself and then like look at it every now and then and kind of like mentally like crunch it down.
Yeah.
So it's whatever works for people, you know, like but the key is like if you set your mind to it, you gotta see it through.
Yeah, it's gotta be your
You
main
gotta see it
focus.
through,
Like
yeah.
applying to law school, you like that can't be like a secondary focus in your life. Like, sure you can work full time and have like social commitments and things like that, but it's gotta be your main focus.
I would agree. Yeah, and
Otherwise,
and
you can't do it.
I'm someone who's dragging their feet on it. Like really, I am. And maybe it's like a money question for me. Like maybe I'm not financially where I need to be to go to
Yeah.
law school just yet. But everyone has their time, you know, and like I'm getting my letters of recommendation right now and my transcripts straightened out. The transcripts have been a nightmare because I went to
school in Prague. So
Yeah, there's 3 schools that I've like technically that I've been
that's
to:
tough.
Bridgewater, University of New York in Prague, and Empire State University.
That's a lot.
These 3, yeah, it was nuts. So trying to coordinate all
Yeah.
of these things has been. It's not really that difficult. I mean, the first 2 American universities, they use parchment, like to
yeah,
transfer.
I had that too. Yeah.
Yeah,
You just make an
UMass?
account, you request. Yeah, that's what I did. I had to like get my like UMass like account info, and then like I put it into Parchment, and then request pay like $3,
Yeah,
and they send it right to like the LSAC thing, and like it shows on the account, they confirm that they got it.
yeah, like I saw it on mine too.
Yeah. Not bad.
It's for me. It's really about like, I guess we're kind of both in the process of doing it.
Yeah.
Like imagine we're like, you know, maybe 10 years down the line and like, okay, we've been to law school and like we graduated, you know, but yeah, the knock on wood. But I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like it's all about following through and like having that vision of
Oh,
like
yeah.
where you see yourself at you know, point X, Y, and Z. And you know, I remember I dropped out of college in September of 2020. I dropped out.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not doing the online. I'm over it. It's
That
not
sucked.
happening.
I did not enjoy it.
Yeah, it was awful. And my parents were kind of like, are you going to go back to school? And I made them a promise. I said, in 1 year, I will go back, like no matter what, no matter if the classes are online or not. But, you know, I've been at lows in my life. I've been at very, you know, big highs. But it's kind of all about like getting to that place.
Yeah.
You know, like it may seem dark, like the night may seem very long, but
Yeah.
ultimately the sun will rise. You know, like I remember I transferred all my credits there. I you know, dotted everything, crossed my T's. I did every little thing. I went there. I had to do the COVID tests. I had to do
That
like,
sucks.
yeah, it was like jumping through hoops of fire, you know. But I got there, and I walked in the school, and it was so funny. The receptionist was like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "I'm back." I'm like, "I'm back, baby. I'm back." She was like, "Who's this guy?" But it was like one of the best decisions I ever made. You know, like getting out there and like really ingratiating myself with like these other cultures, and that would have never happened if I didn't apply and like work towards it. You know,
Yeah.
the paperwork can be really daunting. You know, like
But it's never as bad as it seems. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I
That would
figured out with
agree.
law school. Is
Yeah.
like when I started applying, I just Googled how to apply to law school, and I was like, oh, take the LSAT. Oh, make an account like on the LSAT website. And it was like you need all like a transcript, like your personal statement, and this and that. And I was like, that's a lot. But as I started doing it, it's not that bad. It sucks to study for, but it's like applying itself. It's doable. It's definitely doable.
So that's actually a question I have. When you say personal statement, is
Yeah.
that almost like a cover letter for law school? Like why you want to go, or like what?
Sort of. So every school has like their own requirements for a personal statement. Most schools are pretty open about it. It's like 2 pages, 12-point font, double space, kind of explaining like why you want to go to law school, what will you bring to the school, and like sort of just talking about yourself, how you got to this point in applying. Some schools are a little more specific. They want you to talk, maybe mention like some of your personal goals and like things you went through, like different experiences you had that's made you want to go to law school.
Mhm.
Some places want you to talk about sort of like difficult things you overcame and like specifically what you bring to the school. But for the most part, it's kind of like why you want to go to law school.
Okay. So that's something I have to write.
Yeah.
I've not done that yet. Again, I'm in a very preliminary stage, you
Yeah.
know. I'm assuming that when you submit these things to LSAC, it like saves there. Like,
Yeah, so you
forever.
basically upload everything onto the LSAC website, and every school, at least every school in Boston that I'm applying to, they'll only accept applications through like a CAS report. I
Yeah.
forget what it stands for, but basically, like you pay for, like, it's like $200 on the LSAC website. You pay that, and that's kind of like your application all in one. So like you
And they send it out to.
yeah, and they'll send it out to every school once you hit apply.
So like that price, like when you pay that, it kind of like it sends everything out for you.
Kind of. So you pay that to like sort of, I guess, like make the application,
Okay.
and then when you put like each school on the list, you sort of fill out like their specific applications, kind of like a little questionnaire. They're all pretty much similar, like asking about like academic honesty, your date of birth, like that kind of stuff. And then you upload your personal statement for that school, or like if you have like one that you're using for every school, you upload recommendation letters you have, and then you put in like it automatically has like your LSAT score if you already took it. Then you fill all that out, and then you click apply individually for each school, but it's like through like the CAS report.
Okay.
And then you pay, like, each school has their own fee for the applications, like between $70 $85 depending on the school. And then you click apply for each individual school.
Ah, okay.
But you paid like the $200 fee for that CS report once to like make each application, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It does.
And they get you with the fees. There's
Yeah.
a lot of fees.
Yeah, they get you.
But you can apply for like a fee waiver, which applies to the LSAT, because that costs like $200, and for the CS report too, and it also applies to like each application fee for each school. You can apply like a fee waiver to like make it all free.
I was gonna say, like, this is a great segue to how you said you took the LSAT.
Yeah, I took it once. The first time I took it in October, and then I took it again this past January.
What was that experience like? And like, do you know how it's graded and stuff like that?
Sure. So the LSAT scored on a scale from, I believe the lowest is like 120, the highest is 180. And I know like each administration of the LSAT, like each exam is different with like different sets of questions. The format's basically the same, but the questions these are different. So like some are typically more difficult than others. Like I believe the ones that are administered in June are typically considered more difficult than like other ones, or maybe easier. I forget exactly.
Yeah.
So I believe that was like a slight scale for each exam you take, but basically it's scored on a scale from 120 to 180. There's 4 sections on the exam: 2 logic reasoning sections,
Mm-hmm.
a reading comprehension section, and a logical game section, as well as you write an essay that's ungraded for the exam as well. And you only need to write that essay once. So if you take the LSAT once, you write that essay, take the exam. If you take the LSAT again, you can still use that essay that you wrote before.
And it's like a very long exam, right?
It's 2 hours 45 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So about like 3 hours.
Yeah, like, you know, in my school over there, I remember it was kind of unorthodox because the classes were 3 hours once a week.
Oh my god.
But the finals would take, like, they could take about that long. So I guess
Yeah.
I kind of know what that's like.
Sort of. Each of those 4 sections are timed. They're 35 minutes long.
Oh, geez, really?
Yeah. So you gotta like really focus on pacing yourself. That's like a big important factor to score well. And there's a 10-minute break after you finish the second section of the 4.
So these are usually taken in like libraries or schools.
So you can choose to take it either at home remotely. So you have like a webcam on. You gotta like scan your room and stuff.
Yeah.
Or you can take it at a test center. That's what I did because
Yeah, there's no way I could do it at
I
home.
could not focus at home. So I took it at a test center.
Yeah.
So basically, when you sign up for the LSAT, you sign up. It's like, I forget exactly, but it's roughly like 2 months in advance is when the registration opens for whichever exam you want to take. and they have like the exam. I believe 4 times a year. Is like one in June, September, October. There's one in November, and one in January. So you sign up about 2 months in advance to take it, and then after you sign up about a month before is when like the date registration opens. So you choose specifically what day you want to take it, and you put in preference you want to take it remotely or in person at a test center, and you kind of give them like preference for time when you want to take it. But honestly, that doesn't really matter because you go in and like choose the location you take it at and at what time. So it's like it's all through the LSAC website as well. Like the same place where you just make your account, upload all your application forms. You basically when like that opening happens to like choose what day you take it, it gives you a little map and like test center locations. You can sort by distance from like a zip code, so like from your house, and you can sort by day. It's like usually throughout a 4-day period. So I took my second one January, I believe it was 13th, which was a Saturday.
This is pretty recent.
Yeah. Still waiting to get my score back for that one. So you can like, it's usually like the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is like the 4 days you can choose from. And like there's different times depending what test center you go to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Super involved.
Oh yeah. And you can choose to take it like pen and paper, like a pencil and paper too. Like how like they used to do it before the pandemic. That's how they used to administer it. But then once the pandemic happened, that's when they gave the option for
like a computer.
Yeah, computer, but and remotely as well.
So you can actually type like on there. Like you can like sit in the classroom and type. Sorry, I got a phone call.
No worries.
But you can like type like in the classroom or like.
So I did it at a test center, which is literally just like a small like office in a way that has like cubicles with computers.
Are there like other people in there?
Yeah, there's people like in there taking all kinds of exams, like not just the LSAT. Like when I was there, there's 2 other people that I knew were taking the LSAT as well. But there's like some people taking the SATs, and the guy was taking an exam for like automotive stuff.
Are there like proctors? Like are there people that?
Yeah, there's people that are like in a separate room. So like I took it in the Prometric test center in Burlington. That was like the closest one to my house. So you kind of go in there. There's like a desk where you check in. You say what you're here for. Show them your ID. They confirm that you're there for the LSAT because they should have your info because you sign up for it.
Yeah.
And then you put your keys in like anything you have in your pockets in a little locker. They give you a key. You can have a water, and you take your ID with you because you need to show the like the proctor to confirm that's you. And they do a little security check. Like they kind of like check you if you have anything on your like belongings. You got to roll up your sleeves and stuff to make sure you have like no notes and stuff like that. They give you some scratch paper and a couple pencils, and they take you to where you're gonna be sitting, like in the little testing room, like to your cubicle.
Well, I think you're gonna be a great lawyer, man, because you're very detail oriented. You know, like yeah, of course, man. You got like the way you just explain it. I saw it like a movie. Yeah. You know, like that's good, man. I am definitely like. This is probably going to be the hardest test I ever take.
Oh, for sure. It is not easy to take. It is. They make it tough on purpose.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like, if I did it at home, there is just no way. Like
no.
I was laughing about that earlier because like I'm sure many people like understand, but like I get so distracted.
Yeah, me too. I can't.
It has taken a lot of discipline for me. Like sometimes when I wake up, I'll wake up and I'll do my Duolingo lesson. On this laptop, like I have like a monitor next to it, and I'll like, you know, I'll wake up, I'll use my keyboard, and like then I'll like check my email. But even just that, like I'll get distracted. Like I still have the Rubik's cube on my desk. Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's why when I was studying for the exam, I would just go to the library because I could not study at home. I get too distracted by like anything going on in my house.
Yeah, I like the libraries. I mean, we're here in one now, you know, and like they're made to be places to study and to read.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think, you know, when I was younger, I remember being like, you know, who goes to the library? That's crazy. But now that I'm getting older, it's kind of like,
place.
It's a great spot to sit and to learn. And like maybe you might bump into someone who's like-minded, but probably not because it's going to be quiet there. But, you know, in the 20th century, you know, you'd go do research here. You'd like look for books. You do X, Y, and Z. I mean, it got replaced kind of like you can do all this research at home, but in terms of like the actual focus of your environment, you can't beat it. Yeah, you can't beat it.
You can't beat that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd study there. So I guess we can talk about studying now, like how do you prepare for the LSAT.
Right.
Because that's basically the most important component of the application. I mean, obviously they'll get your transcript, your GPA, which matters too, but that's kind of like done. Once you graduate college, you can't really change your GPA.
Can't change it.
So that's where the LSAT comes in to like sort of boost your potential into applying to like a good school. So for studying for the LSAT, there's a lot of different options. Like there's Seven Sage, Khan Academy. There's a lot of different ones. Like Kaplan has an LSAT course thing. So there's like a lot of different ways depending like what you prefer. You can like sign up for a course.
Yeah.
It's usually pretty expensive. Like some are like $1,000, some are like $2,000.
Yeah.
And like basically there's like Zoom classes one-on-one with an instructor whose like main job is to prepare you for the LSAT. And there's like Zoom classes with other students who also take it. I believe there's also in-person classes you can sign up for. And there's also free options for those that don't want to pay like $2,000 just to study for an exam.
Yeah.
So I got the Power Score books. Power Score, their only focus is the LSAT, and they make what are called Power Score Bibles.
Okay.
So every year they have books specifically for each section of the LSAT, and it kind of like teaches you how to think for the exam. Because like the way the exam works, it's like nothing you've ever done. I mean, if you've taken like a logic class in school ever, maybe you're a little familiar with it, but likely not. So their books kind of teach you how to think and like different questions you'll see in the exam, how to like identify those questions, how to like understand what it's asking, how to think about the answer, how to look for the answer, how to eliminate questions, and then they have like practice problems from previous exams. And that's honestly what you need is like practice questions from old exams, because a lot of places will give you questions that aren't actually questions that the LSAT would give you.
Right.
So that can kind of throw you off a bit. Like I know Khan Academy mostly has questions from the LSAT, but they'll throw in like questions that are not from old LSATs.
So these what are they called? Power
Score. That's
Power
like
Score.
what I used. I have a bunch of like practice, like physical books.
Yeah.
And they like publish them every year because like the LSAT changes every year, like
Right.
a little bit.
Yeah.
And they'll change like so each edition changes how do they like explain things, because maybe some methods didn't make a lot of sense, and it gives you practice problems in the book. And they have a book for each section, so logic games, logic reasoning, and reading comprehension.
So the test itself changes every year. However, maybe change is not the right word. They just kind of like reshuffle.
Pretty much.
Questions?
It's like a slow change over time.
Uh-huh.
I mean, every exam within the year, each exam you take. So the June exam is never going to be the same as the December exam or the October or January. Like each exam has different questions, but through every year the formatting of the questions can change, and like some kind of questions are no longer in the LSAT. Like for example, this is gonna throw you off, but in the logic games, there's like sometimes there'd be like a question where you have to like put like a group in a circle, and those questions were more popular in the 90s LSATs, but they don't really have those kind of questions anymore. And like for example, in the reading comprehension, there's comparative passages.
Uh-huh.
So most reading comprehension questions, there's like one passage, and you answer like about 8 questions on that one passage. And I believe in 2007 they introduced like 2 shorter passages, and you answer questions based on like both of those passages. So like that kind of changes. Like they'll introduce new types of questions, take out some types of questions. Some questions will be more common than others each year versus other ones. But fundamentally, it's the same exam.
Yeah.
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So in terms of studying, like I said, I used the Power Score Bibles, and I also used Law Hub, which comes with LSAC.
Okay, yeah. So I remember they were I called LSAC too after I
Yeah.
called the woman in Suffolk. I was like, hey, can you bolster me a little bit? You know, like what else do I need to do? But they mentioned Law Hub.
Yeah, Law Hub is nice. There's like a free trial. You need to pay for it to get more questions, but I feel like Law Hub, if you're paying for something, that's something you should pay for.
Is it like a subscription?
I think it's like a one-time payment. I forget exactly. I never bought it. I just used like the free trial. But the free trial comes with 4 previous LSAT exams that you can like take. And it's the great thing about Law Hub is it's formatted exactly how you would take it in like when you take the actual exam.
That's cool. Yeah,
the
that is
exact
cool.
same formatting. So it's great to get used to the formatting, because Well, yeah, you can take the exam. Most likely, you take it at the proctoring site, and you take it on a computer. And it's like a screen. You kind of like put in your LSAC account info to sign in, and then like the questions. It's all digitally, and like you can like highlight sections, underline stuff, and like, there's a little timer in the top right, and it gives you like a 5-minute warning when the section's time is like almost over. And it gives you like you can like jump through questions at the bottom. There's like a little thing that has like circles for each question in each section. You can jump through. It's like the law help gets you used to that formatting, and it's great because it's like old LSATs that you can like practice with, which is like I think the most important thing is just practice, practice, practice. Once you understand what the exam is by reading like the Power Score Bibles, because that teaches you like the formatting of the exam, how to think about it.
And they also have like example questions in there.
Yeah, and like the Power Square Bibles, as they teach, like each chapter in the book has like sections on like different types of questions you'll see.
Yeah.
And it kind of teaches you like what those questions are, how the questions can be worded, what to like focus on in the passage, and then like sort of how to go about answering the question, how like eliminate answers, and then like in each chapter at the end will have practice problems as well. And they also Power Score also sells like previous practice like exams.
I was gonna say, so I'm guessing, let's say I buy one of these books,
Yeah.
and it's like a few years old.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the further you go back, the more like inaccurate it gets, or like.
Kinda, yeah. So what Power Score says, I kind of followed them like they were like
Yeah.
the guide.
Yeah.
Um,
This is good though. You know what? It's funny. Not to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to say, like, before I came here, I was kind of like working on the LSAC
Yeah.
website, and I didn't expect like. But most of the time, guys, I have to be honest with you. When when there's a podcast beforehand, sometimes I'll ask like what we're talking about, but I also like to be like kind of like, okay, like we're doing this,
Yeah.
So I always love like the surprise of it, like I like just having very candid like discussions,
Yeah.
But yeah, go on. Sorry, I didn't mean to. That
what
was
was
kind of
I
like
talking
an aside.
Oh, I was saying that so with the older LSATs, yeah, they'll be more different than like modern ones, but at least what Power Score says is when you practice, start practicing with older LSATs, and then as you approach the test date, start doing newer ones.
Okay.
To sort of like keep the newer ones in your head like more fresh in terms of like understanding what the formatting will be like in the types of questions.
So the way I'm thinking about it is like the older ones are kind of like training wheels, like kind of like getting
Pretty
on the
much,
road, and then the newer ones are kind of like perfecting.
Like start with the older ones and work your way to the newer ones as you practice. So like the closer you approach the actual test that you'll take, you're practicing like pretty recent LSATs. If that makes sense.
No, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. It's good because you're telling me things that I definitely did not know until now.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's one of my cousins was talking to me, and you know how I was in high school, man. Like, like he was like, yeah, he was like, you've got like this mind for it. Like we always knew that. You really should think about going. And I was always such a like goofball button presser,
Yeah.
like pressing buttons, whether it was like the teachers or like other students, man. Like, yeah, I know I would press buttons, but I don't know. I think you're very detail oriented too, and I feel like it's such a good skill to have with something like this.
That's the thing with the LSAT is it's like all about detail. I mean, one component is like pacing yourself because, like I said, each section only have 35 minutes, and that's honestly not a lot of time to answer the questions. The other thing is like the questions are insanely specific. Like it's literally like splitting hairs to like find the right answer. Yeah. And like they do it on purpose. Like they make questions like confusing on purpose, and the answers there's like what's called like a shell game answer. Meaning that the answer looks right, but it's not. And like there's all kinds of like when you'll study for it through the Power Score books or however you choose to study for, like it'll explain like wrong answer types, and like it can get so confusing because like you can like look at something, find two answers that are like they both sound like they mean the same exact thing and they both sound correct, but only one of them is right. And it's that's the tough thing is like finding the exact correct answer. Like you need to think how they want you to think, pretty much. Like you need to think how the LSAT test maker thinks, which is not easy.
Yeah, it's like you got to take yourself outside
Oh yeah.
your own box there. I'm thinking about how from the few practice questions that I just kind of had to look at online,
Yeah.
it was very like, here's the premise, here's like the meat of the question,
Yeah.
and then the answers. Sometimes they all look correct.
Exactly.
I'll look at them and I'll be like,
Or they're all wrong.
yeah. And you know, my father told me this when I was young. I remember we were preparing for the MCAS, and he was like, usually, you know, he didn't go to law school,
Yeah.
but he was like, usually you can pick out two that are like not.
Honestly, that's very true.
Yeah, like there's two answers that you can look at and you can kind of deduct them.
Yeah.
And then there might be two that are like, you really have to like figure
Yeah.
it out, you know? So I remember I've been using that strategy since I was very young, and it's worked pretty good so far, you know? Yeah, more knocking on wood. But dude, like it is definitely a huge process, and you know, I bet you know, if people watch this someday, they might feel encouraged, they might feel discouraged, they might feel like the whole world's gonna come crashing on them. But the important thing is to kind of like just take it
go at
one
your own
step at a
pace.
time. Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
do what you think is right for you. If someone's telling you to go to law school and you're not sure, don't do it.
Yeah.
Like I decided to go to law school when I was certain that I wanted to do it. That's why after I graduated from like UMass, I decided to work at a law firm to like kind of get to figure out if that's right for me, get some experience what it's like to be a lawyer.
That's smart. It's very smart.
And like working there, I was like, yeah, I think law is for me because like the subject of law is interesting to me, and I can see myself practicing law as well.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad you brought that up because I wanted to definitely touch on this before we, you know, get off here. But when I was at my school in Prague, I drafted this amendment, and you know, I've talked about this many times. I feel like I'm like a repeating person. People are gonna get sick of me. But after I wrote that constitutional amendment and it got passed, and then I wrote some more amendments, and then we had a vote in student council on which ones to apply. I remember I told everyone, I'm like, we're having a constitutional convention. This will be in April. You know, you bring in your amendments. It was open to everybody,
Yeah.
you know, but I told my student council specifically because A, it's such a small school, and B, you know, the people who are probably going to be most interested in making changes to the student council constitution are probably people in student council.
Yeah.
But then again, I was not in student council when I got an amendment passed. But the main point was that I wanted people to kind of bring in their suggestions on how it should look going forward.
Yeah.
You know, like that was my goal, was to leave a document that would be very well prepared for the next 10 to 20 years
Yeah.
of that school. So we got like the you know, certain amendments passed. I remember some of my student council, all 8 of them were like, we are not putting that in there. You know, like there were some things that I proposed that very unpopular, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, obviously, you know, I might be the president, but I can't override 8 other people. So it was,
Not a dictator.
yeah, no. But I was, you know, there were some votes that were 5-4. There were some that were like 7-2. But I found that to be so captivating, you know, and like I don't know, like some people are like, what is captivating about like constitutional law? You know, like there's nothing.
You could talk about this in your personal statement too.
Right. Yeah. So I'm definitely planning on doing that.
Because like law schools, from my understanding, they want to see that you have like a reason, like an actual reason to go to law
Right.
school, like something to bring to the field of law,
Yeah.
and not just applying to like make a bunch of money. They don't want you to be like that. Even though a lot of people go to law school just to try and make a bunch of money as a lawyer, but like, they want to see like, that you're actually interested in the subject, what you see yourself bringing to it, and like why you're interested in it.
Yeah. And like that would definitely be the law I want to study.
And you can mention like if you want to study a specific kind of law, you can
Yeah.
mention that in your personal statement too.
I mean, part of me was like, real estate law is pretty interesting.
Mhm.
The other night at the restaurant, this group came in, this law firm came in. I don't, maybe I shouldn't mention the name, but they're involved in like elderly.
Oh, I used to work at an elder law firm actually.
Maybe we're talking about the same one then, but either way, it was like, that was pretty interesting too. I'm not really so interested in like criminal law,
Yeah.
like criminal job, like it's interesting, but it's just not like my alley, I don't think,
Yeah.
because no pun intended, criminal law alley. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a low blow, but it was a good one. But No, like constitutional law to me just sounds so interesting because that is like the foundation of, our country, like the law in this country, the way things have been done here on how like things proceed.
Yeah.
You always hear about in the government or like, in a state or in a locale, they're like going to change a law of some kind. And to me that process is more interesting
cool.
than like, trial law or even real estate law. It's interesting, but like, yeah, like I think one of my cousins is in contract law. So he'll like review contracts and kind of like consult the company he works for on it. But again, it's to each their own. But I really, from the people I've met already that have gone to law school, they're some of the most detail oriented.
Oh yeah, that's very important.
Even like I don't want to use the word competitive, but they're willing to like throw back something at you if they see like a flaw in like your logical reasoning.
Oh yeah. That really matters. I mean, that's what
definitely.
the LSAT teaches.
Yeah,
is
the whole
like
thing,
attention. Like what's really important in LSAT is attention to detail.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're guessing on questions, you're not going to score well because you need to like really pay attention on each question, but at the same time pace yourself to finish the whole section.
Yeah.
Because you don't get points off for getting a wrong answer, but you don't get any points if it's not correct. So you want to like answer every question on the exam at the same time, like really trying to
they time you.
Yeah, each section is 35 minutes long.
Is there like a writing section?
Well, the only writing section is the essay, but you do that before you take the actual LSAT.
And that's not like time. That's just
it is actually. It is also 35 minutes, I believe.
Oh wow.
But it's like for the essay, it's ungraded, but law schools still look at it, so don't like do whatever.
You want to
still
write
a
something nice.
good essay, yeah.
Yeah.
But each essay, so like same with the LSAT, each exam has different questions. Each essay prompt is different. But basically the prompt is this person is trying to decide between two different options for this one goal. And it gives you the pros and cons of both options, and you need to write about which option they should pick and why. And basically you'll write about like a page or two. It's like handwritten. I did it at home before I took the LSAT. So you gotta like scan your whole room, show that there's nobody in the room, and like put all your stuff away, and like you write the essay, and then that's it, and you submit that. Or I believe actually I typed it. I think.
Okay. Well, we're getting like pretty. This is one of my longer episodes. Definitely 37. I think my longest was 39. I have not gone over 40 minutes yet.
We can do that. Yeah. Some few things I want to mention.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to leave the audience with a quick message,
sure.
Then now would be the time.
So instead, like, if you want to go to law school, make sure that you're doing it for yourself and not somebody else. And then like really focus on it. Like, it's not something you can kind of do on the side. I mean, yeah, I worked full time, but I tried studying every day for like at least an hour. You really need to like really prepare for the exam and like fill out all the application stuff. So like if you want to go to like school in the fall, you really need to like start preparing in advance to like make sure you get into school on time. But it seems like a lot, but it's doable if you set your mind to it.
All right, I agree. Got to buckle down.
Yeah, you do got to buckle down.
Discipline. Man, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, of course.
It's been awesome. Guys, that was 54. Like, comment, subscribe. And we'll be looking for 55 at some point. Yeah, cheers. Peace.